Welcome to another edition of Bible Time. We're looking at the book of Job, and I want to start off today by asking you a question. You ever had a bad day? I mean, a really bad day where it just seemed like everything went wrong? Well, Job knows about that. In fact, we saw yesterday, just the first couple of chapters, it says in chapter 1, verse 13, now there was a day. And then it gives a string of events, catastrophes that happened to Job. And these things were happening so quickly that as one messenger would come and give him a message about one of the catastrophes, we're told that while he was still speaking, the next messenger showed up. And so Job went through a day like that. And then chapter 2 starts off again, there was a day. And this is the day where Satan goes after him physically. And it's hard to even imagine what he suffered physically. We're going to see hints at it as we go through the book. But he had a bad day, bad days. In fact, compared to his bad days, you and I, we've never had a bad day. And as we look at the book of Job, it is about suffering and God's sovereignty. You could say that's what one of the issues that's being addressed here. You could say it addresses the issues of God and Satan. And you see the interaction between the two of them in the first two chapters. But it's also about the triumph of faith, because Satan is trying to get Job to deny God, to curse God. But God is saying, no, when I save people, when I give them the gift of faith, that faith is going to endure. And that's what we're seeing here. But we get to chapter 3. I mean, Job's friends showed up. They sat around for a week and didn't say anything. And now the talking begins, and it begins with a serious lament by Job. He's lamenting the fact that he was conceived. That's how deep this goes. He's lamenting the fact that he was born. He was wishing he had been miscarried. That's how bad this is. He's wishing he had never been born. He is in a deep pain that probably you and I can't even begin to imagine. There's no hint that he was considering taking his life, but he did consider the ways he might be better off if he was dead. But he trusted God in the midst of this lament. I mean, certainly he had the opportunity to take his life if that's what he wanted to do. But he trusted God for the timing of it. And you'll notice that he did not curse God. He cursed the day of his birth, but he did not curse God, which was the goal of Satan in all of this. Job will not curse God. He curses the day he was born. And the very worst thing you could imagine happening to you, he was experiencing worse than that. It's hard for us to even have a category to put what Job was experiencing that in that time. And here's the thing to take note of. In chapter 1, God says there's nobody on the earth like him. He's righteous, he's blameless. He is at that time the most righteous man on the planet. And that is why these things are happening to him, because Satan wanted to go after him. God says there's nobody like Job. Satan says, let me have a shot at him. And so because he's the most righteous man on the planet at the time, that's why he's suffering these attacks. And we're going to see how his faith endures to the end. But the thing to keep in mind is that this isn't some kind of game with God. God does things for holy and righteous purposes. And he has a purpose in Job enduring this suffering. And Job then becomes, at the end of it all, an example of endurance, patient endurance. In fact, in James chapter 5 and verse 11, which is a book about enduring and being faithful in the midst of trials, as James writes that book, he says in verse 11, he says, behold, we consider those blessed who remained steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful. And that's what we're going to see at the end. We're going to have to go through all of this that Job has to experience. His friends are not going to be helping him in the midst of his situation. But in the end, do you think Job is going to say he's thankful to the Lord? Yeah, he is going to be. And so there's the important lesson for you and me to learn about how God is really compassionate and merciful, and we just need to trust Him and to endure whatever comes our way, believing that our God is in control and He has good purposes for us. And Job is the premier example, because you and I, we're not going to experience what Job had to experience. So God is making a point here about how good and compassionate He is, and how He can help you endure even through the worst of times. So that's a good message to end our week on. I hope that encourages you, and I hope you're looking forward to Sunday. Sunday's going to be a special day here at Believers Fellowship. In the morning services, we're going to hear from Francis and Caroline Bassani, who have served as missionaries in Uganda for the last 4 years, sent out from our church. Now they're back home with their children here with us, with Aiden and Emerson and Adelaide. You're going to get introduced to them. A lot of you don't really know them because you're newer to the church. You didn't know the Bassanis from before. So this is going to be a way of kind of reintroducing them back to our church, and we're so thankful for them and for the work that they accomplished in Uganda. We're looking forward to hearing from them Sunday morning. And then Sunday night, we have the baptisms, we have the praise service. We're going to have a great time Sunday night. So I trust that you're looking forward to that. I trust that you'll be praying for our time together on Sunday, and we'll see you next week for more Bible time.